Hello everyone, I hope you're all doing well. Happy New Year! I know it's a week or two into the year already, but it's the first video of the year, so we're gonna roll with it. I had a super chilled out couple of weeks, which I really didn't get up to anything work or creativity wise, which was a nice break, but I was still sort of thinking about things and plans that I want to hopefully work on in the near future, and one of those plans that I sort of concocted we are going to be enacting today. Something that I did do in the last couple of weeks was I really fell down a photography rabbit hole. I got really into learning more about photography and the setup that I've had for a year or so now and ways that I could perfect it. We're not going to talk about how many lenses I have bought in the last couple of weeks, but that whole sort of deep dive rabbit holing into photography also sort of transitioned into me thinking about ways that I could possibly improve my general workflow for sort of filming YouTube videos and sort of everything that surrounds that. I am definitely someone that really tries to perfect and maximize the space that I have to its fullest functionality potential. You know, a couple of months ago I made that custom piece of furniture to assist me for a very specific need that I have when building the products that I design. So I've definitely spent a lot of time and effort perfecting the artwork making part of my studio and have somewhat neglected the post-production and editing section of it, which is over here on this desk. So the plan for today is to give this desk a bit of a makeover. So here's what the current desk setup looks like. Obviously the first thing that I'm going to be doing as part of this makeover is to actually clean up the desk, since it's looking quite catastrophic at the moment with just oogles of rain. I mean, we have my old wheels for this chair. Yeah, obviously first thing, clean up the table, which is going to make a massive improvement just there. But I feel like overall this is a pretty typical setup for at least someone that is an artist and or does YouTube videos. You know, I have a screen, microphone, speakers, a Cintiq off to the side on an adjustable arm so I can pull it in front. And I guess let's start with going over exactly what improvements that I want to make to this desk as part of this little makeover. Here's my desk, like you just saw, but actually cleaned off, so it's looking much better. Now, like I mentioned, this has very much become my editing bay for YouTube videos. I do a lot of other important work here too, but I probably spend the most time here editing, so a lot of Final Cut work. Lately, I've been having a lot of fun with more intense video edits, with like full-blown color grading and just really the whole works. And one of the things that I started to notice was that I was constantly basically running out of screen. So I started to look at ultra-wide monitors. Overall, I really like this current setup I've got going on. I really just wanted to make some key but more subtle improvements. So thinking about an ultra-wide monitor, while it would be amazing, just didn't seem like the right choice for me, at least with this current setup. Because I have an iMac, it wasn't like I'd just be switching out a monitor for something better. I need to most likely move the computer itself. Hypothetically, I figured it would make the most sense to probably have an ultra-wide screen in the corner and move the iMac to the side, which could snowball into a slew of other problems. So I went looking for some inspiration to see what other people had done with an iMac setup, and I came across someone that actually mounted a smaller ultra-wide screen underneath. And this was a very appealing proposition to me because I already have my iMac mounted up higher, so I pretty much didn't have to make any layout adjustments whatsoever. The only thing that pretty much posed a bit of a problem was my microphone. My mic tends to live in the front of my computer here, which is obviously where I was planning a screen to go, so I figured this was a good of an excuse as ever to finally bite the bullet and get a boom arm for this mic. It's something that I'd been considering for a while now because it has the benefit that I could shock mount this thing, which is absolutely necessary because if I so much as like brushed the edge of my desk too much, it sounded like there was an explosion happening in my studio, and it also means I get to free up a bit of desk space and move it off to one side when I don't need to use it. And because I was planning on making some changes to this setup, I figured it was also the perfect time to work on the aesthetics and finally get around to backlighting this desk. So here's some of the stuff that we're rolling with. We of course first have the LED strip. This is a particular type that I have used other places in some other rooms. I really like them. They're like extra super smart. You can control individual segments of the strip. They like have really interesting modes. You know, they're app controlled. They work with smart devices. They actually react to music. They're just really awesome. And this is 16 and some odd feet, and it's like $30. So you really cannot beat that. So got another box of those to use for the desk. We have an extension or a power bar, just because I think I'm going to need to flip out. I have just an extension cord in one place, and I think I'm going to need some more outlets, so I'm going to flip that out. This is just a cable to plug in the actual screen to my computer. This is the mount that I decided on for the screen itself. I looked up a ton of different options because pretty much the screen is basically going to be on the surface of my desk, so it needs to be pretty low profile, and everything that I found wasn't going to fit the screen itself well, so this was the best particular option. So it's, you know, pretty typical. It's like the pole with the like arm outwards to actually hold the screen, and then obviously mine is going to be like rock bottom. And then for some of the bigger things, we have the boom arm for the mic, the shock mount, and then the screen itself. So I'm going to start with the LED strip because I want that on the back of the desk before I have all of these other mounts all of a sudden attached to it. So I'm going to do that first, and then we will look at adding some more of these other upgrades. So I started out with raising my desk. I figured might as well give myself the most room and space so that I can just see what I'm doing and be able to sit under there a little more comfortably. I also got the power bar plugged in, and I wanted to start out with a bit of a cable management to try and eliminate some of these wires that were hanging down. And then it was on to the LED lights, which I realized pretty fast after opening this that I'd accidentally bought the wrong type, at least not the type that I was planning on attaching to this desk. So I reordered the right lights, one day shipped them, and I decided to just continue on with actually attaching the arms. Originally I had planned to not have them attached when I was putting the lights on, but I realized my Cintiq arm was going to be attached anyway, and I was planning on leaving it there, and I figured I might as well just attach the other arms to, you know, spend this day like I was planning on it. And it also meant that even though I would be attaching the LEDs to the outside of the clamps on the edge of my desk, it would mean that because they were on the outside, it would eliminate any dark spots. So I decided to continue with the arm installations. I started with the boom arm. I figured it was going to be possibly the more simple installation, since it was pretty much just putting the clamp on the side of my desk over here in the area that I wanted, and then actually attaching the arm itself and getting my mic all set up and balanced on the arm. Overall, a super easy installation. Really the only thing that took any time or effort whatsoever was just making sure that the tension in the arm was right for the weight of my microphone, and like all of the different joints were flexible enough while still holding the weight of the microphone. This particular boom arm also has built-in cable management, which is awesome, so got that all plugged in and set up and ran the cable along the actual arm itself, which again, super easy, and it looks really nice and clean. And then it was on to the slightly more intense installation, which was this monitor arm and of course the screen itself. Now, I didn't end up filming much of the screen and monitor arm setup because I went into a bit of a panic mode where I realized that where the arm itself came off of the mounting plate, it was going to possibly interfere with the stand that my iMac sits on and essentially be too tall. I did manage to get it to work, which is awesome, but as you can see, it's really, really tight. Because it is such a snug fit, you pretty much can't see any of it. The pole itself is tucked around the back of my computer, and I can't see it at all when I'm working. But because this was such a tight setup, it meant that the screen actually had to be angled upwards in order for the mounting plate to be low enough for the arm to fit under the stand that my iMac sits on, but the viewing angle is actually perfect for where I'm sitting, so when I edit, because that screen is facing upwards, it just puts it at the perfect angle for me to sit and work at. The next day, the correct LED strip came in, so I went ahead and started to set it up. I also decided I wanted to use some mounting tape just for extra adhesion onto some of the corners and where it was going to have to bend around things more. I always like to test out to make sure the strip is working properly, and I wanted to show you what it looked like reacting to music while it was still rolled up because it's really cool, but the footage is a bit flashy, so just wanted to put this warning up beforehand as a precaution. These lights actually have quite a few different music modes, so I was cycling through them so that you could see. This is like the single color roll. All I had was my phone playing some music just beside the microphone on the like controller or whatever you want to call it. And this is what the lights look like when they're still rolled up on their roll that they're packaged in. So it's just kind of extra cool because while they are still going to react when they're spread out, it doesn't have that same like coiled up. It's obviously reacting more in the middle of the strip, and it just has this really cool pulsing effect. This 16.4 foot light strip was the absolute perfect length. I ran the strip all across the underneath of the table as well as along the actual back edge. Then of course got everything connected to my phone, played around with the colors, and this is the effect. So I didn't change around anything too much, but the couple additions to this setup are absolutely going to make my life easier and just generally improve my workflow here. It also looks really cool now. Thank you for joining me for the journey of this desk makeover, and I'll see you in my next video.